Your endocrinologist never mentioned this everyday kitchen spice to you. Those sharp rises in blood sugar after eating, they never verified whether you're using the proper variety. One particular spice, when it's the authentic type, can eliminate those aftermeal surges within just 1 week. They keep recommending costly medications priced at $300 that cause awful digestive upset, while this spice is extremely affordable and delivers superior results. A clinical trial has confirmed it cuts those spikes by 29%. I'm Dr. Sandra, spare me 4 minutes. I'll reveal exactly which spice to choose, the precise safe variety, and explain why the ordinary kind commonly available is actually harming your liver over time. The spice we're discussing is cinnamon, but head to your kitchen cupboard immediately. If the container simply reads cinnamon and was inexpensive around $2, then you are very likely consuming cassia. Cassia isn't a therapeutic option, it's a type of bark packed with coumarin. Coumarin functions as a blood-thinning poison. When taken in substantial amounts, it harms your liver severely. The standard cinnamon found in typical American supermarkets is loaded with coumarin. You're attempting to manage your blood sugar levels, yet you could unintentionally be damaging your liver in the process. What you actually require is Ceylon cinnamon, which is the genuine cinnamon, but identifying the correct type addresses only part of the issue. Most individuals end up using an incorrect amount. Use too small a quantity and you see no improvement. Use an excessive amount and you face the danger of low blood sugar episodes. Marvin's story. From shakes and crashes to stability, I'm going to share the precise amount to take along with the critical 1-hour timing window that ensures its effectiveness. I've been treating disorders of blood sugar regulation for 2 decades now. What I'm about to explain will likely cause you to wonder why your endocrinologist continues prescribing costly drugs when a simple household spice performs more effectively. Marvin entered my practice last autumn appearing completely drained. He was 68 years old, and his unstable blood sugar was severely undermining his daily life. Not merely because his levels remained elevated overall, although they did, but primarily because they fluctuated wildly, creating a hazardous up and down pattern that left him feeling awful around the clock. Following each meal, his blood sugar would surge to 220 mg/dl or even greater. That level is hazardous. Any reading exceeding 180 mg/dl after eating inflicts damage on your blood vessels, your nerves, and your kidneys. But the surge wasn't the entire problem. The truly troubling aspect was that 2 hours after consuming food, his blood sugar would plummet sharply, dropping to 70 or even lower. He would become tremulous, drenched in sweat, lightheaded. His heart would pound rapidly, his thinking would become foggy and unclear. This is known as reactive hypoglycemia, where your insulin response becomes exaggerated after a blood sugar rise, pushing your glucose excessively downward. He endured this relentless roller coaster pattern every day. A surge after breakfast followed by a crash mid-morning, a surge after lunch followed by a crash mid-afternoon. A surge after dinner followed by a crash before bedtime. He constantly felt drained and miserable. The liver trap. Why cassia cinnamon is not medicine. He experienced perpetual fatigue, nervousness, and an inability to carry out normal activities. His endocrinologist examined the data from his continuous glucose monitor, the charts displaying his blood sugar fluctuations throughout each day. She observed the dramatic rises and the subsequent drops, then prescribed a carbose. A carbose is a drug that delays the breakdown of carbohydrates. It inhibits the enzyme responsible for digesting complex carbohydrates within your small intestine, causing sugars to enter your bloodstream at a slower pace. In principle, this approach should minimize sharp rises. In reality, a carbose produces severe adverse reactions because those undigested carbohydrates don't simply vanish. They proceed to your large intestine where gut bacteria ferment them. That fermentation process generates substantial gas, leading to abdominal distension, painful cramping, and frequent loose stools. Marvin's endocrinologist assured him that these reactions would lessen after several weeks as his system adapted. She directed him to take 50 mg 3 times per day alongside meals, at a monthly cost of $300 even after insurance coverage. Marvin ingested his initial dose during lunch. Within 2 hours he felt wretched. His abdomen cramped intensely, he felt severely bloated, and he needed to hurry to the restroom 3 separate times that same afternoon. The diarrhea felt deeply embarrassing. He contacted his endocrinologist. "I cannot continue living this way," he explained. These reactions are impossible to endure. She advised reducing the dose to 25 mg and slowly building back up over multiple weeks. Your system will adapt, she insisted. The reactions are only short-term. Yet Marvin found even the smaller amount intolerable. The bloating, gas, and diarrhea persisted relentlessly. He discontinued the acarbose after merely 1 week. He'd prefer managing the blood sugar surges than spending his days constantly rushing to the bathroom. That was the point when he sought my help, desperate, worn out, searching for any solution that could balance his blood sugar without ruining his digestion. I reviewed his continuous glucose monitor readings. The fluctuations were striking. His fasting level hovered around 120. After breakfast, oatmeal topped with banana, it climbed to 230. 2 hours afterward, it fell to 65. After lunch, a sandwich accompanied by chips, it reached 240, then dropped to 72 hours later. His system was generating enormous quantities of insulin attempting to counteract those surges, but the insulin proved overly effective, driving his glucose excessively low and triggering reactive hypoglycemia. His pancreas had become fatigued from this unending cycle. I posed one question his endocrinologist had never raised. "Do you consume cinnamon?" He appeared puzzled. "Cinnamon for taste." Yes, precisely cinnamon, specifically Ceylon cinnamon, the authentic variety, not the cassia cinnamon commonly stocked in grocery stores. Ceylon cinnamon supplies polyphenols that delay carbohydrate digestion in a manner comparable to acarbose, yet without producing gas, without causing diarrhea, and without the $300 monthly expense. Clinical research has demonstrated that 1 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon taken with a meal lowers post-meal blood sugar surges by 29%. Why acarbose fails many seniors, the digestion factor, 29% simply by adding cinnamon to your food. Marvin gazed at me in disbelief. My endocrinologist never brought up cinnamon. She immediately went to the prescription. Naturally she did, because if cinnamon can steady blood sugar for mere pennies daily, Marvin would no longer require the $300 acarbose. He wouldn't need regular follow-up visits to watch for adverse reactions. He wouldn't require dosage modifications or medication switches. There's no financial gain in directing patients to purchase cinnamon at the supermarket. There's substantial profit in prescribing costly drugs that demand continuous oversight. But here's the vital detail most overlook. Not every cinnamon variety is effective. The cinnamon currently in your spice rack, if it's the inexpensive supermarket variety, is most likely cassia cinnamon. And cassia cinnamon contains elevated amounts of coumarin, a substance that's poisonous to your liver when consumed regularly in significant quantities. If you take cassia cinnamon daily, which is necessary for blood sugar management, you're gradually harming your liver. The European Food Safety Authority has issued warnings against regular intake of cassia cinnamon due to coumarin-related risks. However, Ceylon cinnamon, also known as true cinnamon, contains virtually no coumarin. It's entirely safe for everyday use and matches acarbose in its ability to prevent blood sugar surges. I advised Marvin to discard any cinnamon he currently owned and obtain Ceylon cinnamon instead. 1 teaspoon accompanying every meal, sprinkled onto his oatmeal, stirred into his coffee. Incorporated into his evening meal without skipping any meal. He remained doubtful. This appears overly straightforward. How could cinnamon possibly match a prescription drug? I described the underlying process, and once he comprehended the way it functions, he agreed to give it a serious try. Within 1 week, his blood sugar fluctuations had vanished. Let me clarify what actually drives those post-meal blood sugar increases, because once you grasp the process, you'll see precisely why cinnamon succeeds, and why your endocrinologist's method addresses only the surface issue rather than the root cause. When you consume carbohydrates, whether bread, pasta, rice, potatoes, or fruit, your digestive tract converts them into simple sugars, mainly glucose. That glucose passes through your small intestine and enters your circulation. Your blood sugar level climbs. In someone without issues, your pancreas detects the elevation and secretes insulin. Insulin serves as a hormone directing your cells to remove glucose from the bloodstream for immediate energy use or storage. Your blood sugar increases following a meal, insulin lowers it, and balance returns within roughly 2 hours. However, in individuals with insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes, which affects the majority of people past age 60, this regulatory system malfunctions. Your cells respond poorly to insulin signals. Your pancreas must generate increasing amounts of insulin to force blood sugar downward. Even then, your blood sugar remains elevated for extended periods after eating. That prolonged high level injures your blood vessels. Elevated glucose acts as a toxin to your circulatory system, triggering inflammation and harming the endothelial lining of your arteries. Over years, this injury contributes to cardiovascular disease, kidney damage, nerve problems, and vision impairment. The 7-day protocol, the 1 teaspoon rule, but another complication exists. When your pancreas eventually produces sufficient insulin to counteract the rise, it frequently produces an excess. Too much insulin forces your blood sugar dangerously low, resulting in reactive hypoglycemia, that trembling, perspiring, dizzy sensation when glucose falls below 70. This ongoing pattern of surge followed by crash proves utterly draining. Rise, fall, all day long. Your body stays in perpetual emergency mode, striving to keep glucose steady. Acarbose attempts resolution by delaying carbohydrate uptake. It inhibits alpha-glucosidase, an enzyme in your small intestine that converts complex carbohydrates into absorbable simple sugars. Reduced enzyme function means carbohydrates enter the bloodstream more gradually. The rise becomes less abrupt. The difficulty lies in those incompletely digested carbohydrates traveling onward to the colon, where bacteria ferment them, producing hydrogen gas, methane, and short-chain fatty acids. This leads to bloating, excessive gas, and diarrhea. Cinnamon operates through a different pathway. It doesn't merely inhibit enzymes, it enhances your cell's sensitivity to insulin. The polyphenols within cinnamon, especially cinnamaldehyde, activate insulin receptors on cell surfaces. This activation increases receptor responsiveness to insulin. Consequently, your cells require less insulin to remove glucose from circulation. The post-meal rise diminishes, and you avoid the subsequent reactive hypoglycemia because your pancreas no longer overproduces insulin. How polyphenols act like natural acarbose, research has repeatedly validated this effect. A pivotal study appearing in Diabetes Care during 2003 examined cinnamon in 60 individuals diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Participants received daily doses of 1, 3, or 6 grams of cinnamon, equivalent to roughly 1 to 2 teaspoons. Every dosage group experienced reductions in fasting blood sugar ranging from 18% to 29%. They also showed decreases in triglycerides and LDL cholesterol. Improvements emerged within 20 days and continued as long as cinnamon intake persisted. A later investigation in 2017 focused specifically on Ceylon cinnamon. Researchers provided participants with 1 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon alongside a high-carbohydrate meal and tracked the blood sugar response. Post-meal blood sugar levels dropped by 29% compared to the control condition without cinnamon. The surge was markedly reduced and no adverse reactions occurred, no gas, no diarrhea, only improved glucose stability. Crucially, these studies utilized Ceylon cinnamon, not cassia. The majority of cinnamon available in the United States is cassia. It's less expensive and possesses a bolder taste, yet it carries high coumarin content. Coumarin occurs naturally in cinnamon and can injure the liver when accumulated in large quantities. The German Federal Institute for Risk Assessment analyzed cassia cinnamon and determined it contains 5 to 12 grams of coumarin per kilogram. Ceylon cinnamon contains only 0.004 grams per kilogram, over 1,000 times less. If you consume 1 teaspoon of cassia cinnamon daily, the amount required for blood sugar benefits, you ingest approximately 7 to 18 milligrams of coumarin each day. The European Food Safety Authority establishes a tolerable daily intake of 0.1 mg per kilogram of body weight. For a 70-kilogram individual, that's 7 milligrams daily. Most people using cassia cinnamon regularly exceed safe coumarin thresholds, and prolonged exposure leads to liver injury, elevated liver enzymes, hepatitis, and in extreme cases, liver failure. Ceylon cinnamon presents no such concern. You can safely consume 1 to 2 teaspoons daily without any coumarin-related risk. It's appropriate for extended use. The hypoglycemia risk. Getting the dosage right. When Marvin visited my office, I requested he show me the cinnamon he kept at home. He produced a standard container of ground cinnamon from his local supermarket. The label simply stated cinnamon, no indication of Ceylon or cassia. I explained that it was almost certainly cassia. Nearly all generic supermarket cinnamon in the US originates as cassia. imported from Indonesia or China where cassia grows abundantly and inexpensively. Ceylon cinnamon originates primarily from Sri Lanka. It's pricier, yet it's the sole variety safe for regular daily consumption. Marvin disposed of his cassia cinnamon and ordered Ceylon cinnamon online. I suggested a product called Simply Organic Ceylon Cinnamon, certified as genuine Ceylon, organic, and readily obtainable. It costs around $12 for a 2.45-ounce jar. One jar would suffice for a month at 1 teaspoon per meal. He began the regimen right away. 1 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon with breakfast sprinkled over oatmeal. 1 teaspoon with lunch stirred into soup or scattered on salad. 1 teaspoon with dinner mixed into vegetables or meat. On the first day, his post-breakfast blood sugar reached 195 instead of 230. Still elevated, yet clearly reduced. 2 hours later, it settled at 95 rather than 65, no tremors, no lightheadedness. The crash had disappeared. By day 3, his after-breakfast peak fell to 165, still somewhat above the preferred target of 140, but vastly improved. And 2 hours afterward it stabilized at 110 with no drop. Marvin contacted me enthusiastically. "Dr. Sandra, this is truly effective. I noticed the difference. Those awful crashes have stopped." Success story. How Marvin canceled his $300 prescription. I wasn't surprised. Ceylon cinnamon enhances insulin sensitivity within days. Your cells become more responsive to insulin almost immediately. The blood sugar instability resolves quickly. By day 7, 1 full week, Marvin's continuous glucose monitor displayed an entirely transformed pattern. Post-meal rises stayed consistently under 170, no drops below 80. His glucose remained steady throughout the day. For the first time in months, he felt like himself again. His fasting blood sugar had also declined from 120 to 105. Not fully normal yet, normal remains below 100, but clearly moving in the correct direction. I want to outline the scientific basis for this remarkable effect, because comprehending how it functions will build your confidence in following the approach. Cinnamon supplies multiple active compounds that influence glucose processing. The primary one is cinnamaldehyde, the substance responsible for cinnamon's characteristic aroma and taste. Cinnamaldehyde activates insulin receptors on cell surfaces through phosphorylation. This modification heightens receptor sensitivity to insulin. When insulin receptors function more effectively, your cells extract glucose from circulation more efficiently. You require less insulin to achieve equivalent blood sugar reduction. Your pancreas experiences reduced workload, and since insulin production decreases, you avoid the rebound low blood sugar that triggers those crashes. Cinnamon additionally delays gastric emptying, the speed at which food exits your stomach and reaches your small intestine. Slower movement from stomach to intestine allows carbohydrates to be absorbed more gradually. Blood sugar increases more smoothly after eating. The peak becomes moderated. A study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition examined this by serving participants rice pudding with or without cinnamon and tracking gastric emptying via ultrasound. Without cinnamon, the pudding emptied at a standard rate, approximately 37% in the first hour. With cinnamon, emptying slowed to 34.5% in the first hour. Though a modest change, it proved sufficient to substantially lessen the post-meal blood sugar rise. The glucose measurements showed striking differences. Without cinnamon, blood sugar peaked at 185 mg/dl. With cinnamon, the peak reached only 150, a 19% decrease simply from including cinnamon in the meal. This explains cinnamon's exceptional performance against post-meal surges. It boosts insulin sensitivity while simultaneously slowing carbohydrate uptake. Together, these actions create steady blood sugar without pharmaceutical side effects. Marvin maintained the regimen, 1 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon with every single meal. He tried various incorporation methods, sometimes blending it into coffee, sometimes scattering it over fruit or yogurt, sometimes adding it to savory preparations. Ceylon cinnamon's gentle, sweet profile complements both sweet and savory dishes surprisingly well. Week 2 brought continued progress. Post-meal peaks remained reliably below 160, no drops below 90. His vitality returned. Mental clarity improved. The nervousness stemming from blood sugar crashes vanished. Month 1, Marvin's endocrinologist examined his continuous glucose monitor data again. She expressed astonishment. "Your blood sugar regulation has advanced remarkably," she inquired. "Did you begin the acarbose?" Marvin explained he had switched to Ceylon cinnamon, 1 teaspoon with each meal. She remained unconvinced. Cinnamon cannot produce that level of improvement. This change must stem from another factor, perhaps dietary adjustments or increased physical activity. Marvin had altered nothing else, same eating habits, same activity. The sole change was Ceylon cinnamon. Yet his endocrinologist struggled to accept that a common kitchen spice could rival her $300 prescription. This reflects a broader issue in contemporary endocrinology. Practitioners receive extensive training in medication prescribing metformin, glipizide, acarbose, insulin, but far less emphasis on recognizing and correcting root causes of blood sugar instability, even when strong evidence supports straightforward nutritional strategies. Let me present the comparative outcomes directly, because your endocrinologist may insist medications outperform spices. They are mistaken. Acarbose typically reduces post-meal blood sugar by 25 to 40 mg/dl on average, with studies showing reductions around 30 mg/dl consistently. However, those same studies indicate that 30 to 50% of users discontinue acarbose within the first year due to intolerable gastrointestinal effects. Ceylon cinnamon lowers post-meal blood sugar by 20 to 50 mg/dl depending on the research and dosage, averaging roughly 30 mg/dl, essentially matching acarbose. Yet cinnamon produces zero side effects, no gas, no bloating, no diarrhea. The potency proves comparable, but one option costs $300 monthly and causes digestive distress, while the other costs $12 monthly and enhances food taste. Which would you select? Marvin selected cinnamon and his blood sugar remained balanced. Month 3, his hemoglobin A1C, a reflection of average blood sugar over 3 months, fell from 7.8% to 6.9%. Still within the diabetic range, yet nearing the normal threshold below 6.5%. His endocrinologist could no longer dispute the evidence. She ceased advocating acarbose and encouraged him to continue whatever approach he was following. Here is precisely what Marvin implemented. This is the protocol that steadied his blood sugar and removed the exhausting pattern of surges and drops. With every single meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, he incorporated 1 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon, not Cassia Ceylon. This distinction remains absolutely essential. Cassia cinnamon carries liver-toxic coumarin, Ceylon cinnamon does not. How to recognize genuine Ceylon cinnamon? Seek labels that explicitly state Ceylon cinnamon or Cinnamomum verum, that's the botanical name for Ceylon cinnamon. Cassia cinnamon is labeled Cinnamomum cassia or simply cassia. If the label reads only cinnamon without further specification, it is almost certainly cassia. Ceylon cinnamon appears lighter in color, tan or buff, compared to cassia's deeper reddish-brown. Ceylon cinnamon sticks are slender and composed of multiple thin layers resembling a rolled cigar. Cassia sticks are thicker and formed from a single curled bark layer. You can locate Ceylon cinnamon at natural food markets, specialty spice retailers, or through online sources. Reliable brands include Simply Organic Ceylon cinnamon, Frontier Co-op Ceylon cinnamon, or authentic Sri Lankan Ceylon cinnamon available on Amazon. Expect to pay approximately $10 to $15 for a 2-ounce container. Marvin consumed 1 teaspoon per meal, 3 teaspoons total daily. A 2-ounce jar holds roughly 18 teaspoons, so one container lasted about 6 days. His monthly expenditure on Ceylon cinnamon amounted to around $12. How to include it? Scatter it over oatmeal, yogurt, or fruit at breakfast. Stir it into coffee or tea. Blend it into protein shakes or smoothies. Sprinkle it onto sweet potatoes, roasted vegetables, or grilled chicken at dinner. Ceylon cinnamon offers a pleasant, subtle sweetness that pairs effectively with both sweet and savory items. The essential factor is regularity. Cinnamon must accompany every meal to manage post-meal blood sugar rises effectively. Skipping a meal allows surges to occur. Cinnamon functions only when present in your digestive tract, alongside the carbohydrates consumed. If you're currently taking acarbose or other blood sugar medications, consult your physician before introducing cinnamon. Cinnamon can decrease blood sugar levels, so combining it with diabetes drugs may lead to hypoglycemia. Your doctor might need to adjust your medication dosage downward once cinnamon demonstrates its effect. Closely observe your blood sugar for the initial 2 weeks, check before meals and 2 hours afterward. You should notice post-meal rises decrease by 20 to 50 points within the first week. Should your blood sugar fall too low, below 70, Consume something promptly and discuss medication reduction with your doctor. Some individuals inquire about cinnamon capsules or tablets rather than the ground powder. Supplements can be effective, but they tend to cost more and absorb less efficiently. Ground cinnamon incorporated directly into food achieves better uptake because it mixes with dietary fats and proteins that facilitate absorption. If convenience leads you to prefer supplements, choose Ceylon cinnamon extract standardized to 10% polyphenols. The typical dose is 500 to 1,000 milligrams twice daily with meals, but I strongly favor the powder form whenever feasible. Now comes the moment that deeply moved Marvin. After 1 full month of using 1 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon with every meal for 4 weeks, his continuous glucose monitor revealed steady blood sugar patterns all day long. Post-meal peaks stayed below 160 with no drops below 90. His hemoglobin A1C had decreased from 7.8% to 7.1%. His fasting blood sugar settled at 102. He shed 4 pounds effortlessly, likely because stable blood sugar eliminated the powerful carbohydrate cravings that accompany reactive hypoglycemia. Beyond the measurements, Marvin felt transformed. The chronic fatigue disappeared. The nervousness triggered by blood sugar drops vanished. The persistent dread of the next surge or crash lifted completely. Sitting in my office, tears welled in his eyes. "I can't believe something so straightforward resolved everything," he said. "My endocrinologist insisted on that awful medication that made me miserable, and all I truly needed was cinnamon." Month 3, his endocrinologist rechecked his hemoglobin A1C. It registered 6.9%, just above the normal cutoff of 6.5%. His blood sugar management had progressed so far that he hovered near the non-diabetic range. She inquired once more about his approach. He replied, "Ceylon cinnamon 1 teaspoon with every meal." She responded courteously yet skeptically, "Well, continue whatever you're doing." Marvin smiled. He understood the reality. Ceylon cinnamon had balanced his blood sugar more effectively than any prescription. No adverse reactions, no high cost, just a household spice he had overlooked for decades. The financial contrast is striking. A Carbos runs $300 monthly. Ceylon cinnamon costs $12 monthly. Over 1 year, that's $3,600 versus $144. You save $3,456 annually by choosing cinnamon over medication. And that calculation excludes the additional expenses of doctor appointments, laboratory tests, and time devoted to handling medication side effects. When all indirect costs are considered, cinnamon provides even greater savings. Purchase Ceylon cinnamon tomorrow. Use 1 teaspoon with every meal. Examine the label carefully. Ensure it specifies Ceylon or Cinnamomum verum. Avoid generic cinnamon. Avoid cassia. Your liver's health depends on selecting the correct variety. Your blood sugar will become steady within 1 week. The surges will lessen. The drops will cease. You will regain a sense of normalcy again.